Hello and what is up, gang? Thank you so much for joining me here again on the channel today. We are here to discuss my top 10 reasons why I hate WWE2K18 right now. Top 10 reasons why this game is broken. You can categorize it however you want. It's going to be a very, very negative show as we are here to discuss this ridiculous offering from 2K and the WWE. And we are going to do that right here and right now on the newest, fastest rising podcast in all of the YouTube wrestling community. You know what it is, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. So let's get this roast started.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
Alright, wrestling fans, thank you so much once again for joining me. My name is Nick Nightmare. Along with me is my trusty little buddy, my tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of Microphones, Blue the Snowball. And like I said, we are here to trash this game right now. I'm not really one to do this, but I've been playing this game since it came out, and it has been driving me absolutely up the wall. Now, I have been gaming since gaming was invented in the 80s. I have played each and every offering of a wrestling game that has ever been produced by the WWE or WCW for that matter, and even ECW's garbage games that they put out back in the day. Even such games like The Simpsons Wrestling and Fire Pro Wrestling. Like, I've played all wrestling games when they come out. And you would think that by the year 2017, with the technology being at its absolute peak it could be right now, even though they will top it in just a few months with something else, 4K starting to take over. I'm not ready for 4K yet, although I really do want one because it looks absolutely sick. But you would think that by now we would get a game that functions and runs like a wrestling show. But we don't. We don't. We get a whole bunch of issues, a whole bunch of errors. We still get the same old nonsense. And I expect better and I expect more. WWE 2K should be following the mold of NBA 2K. They seem to have things, pretty well in hand. Their career mode may be a little cheesy at points, but it does follow a structured story. And an NBA season is an NBA season. It is programmed as such. Why we cannot program a wrestling game to follow a set structure and a set story is beyond me. Case in point, you will take a storyline, for example, and you will assume, because nothing's really cut and dry or clear for you, you have to kind of guess your way through this game, and you'll be placed into a tag team with somebody. You'll earn that certain somebody's respect, and then you'll have a match with this guy, and then you'll go back to being a singles wrestler. It's just random. It's absolutely random, and randomness in wrestling doesn't happen. Wrestling is planned. It's supposed to be planned. There's supposed to be a set path, and why they can't program these things to go smoothly and actually make sense, I will never understand. This is 2017. We're at the PlayStation 4. We're getting the next versions of the Xbox, the Xbox One Pro and the PS4 Elite or whatever it's going to be. And all the 4K, like I said, is coming out. The next gen consoles are going to be coming out. But we cannot produce a half-decent wrestling game. And it infuriates me. And these are the 10 reasons why. We're going to start it off right now. Here's number 10. This is a long-running issue in wrestling games. And I have to rank it so low because I give it a little bit of forgiveness. Because collision detection in a game that's all about collision and moves and holds and interacting with another character on the screen is to be expected at some points. But the ridiculousness and the glitchiness at this stage in the game is unacceptable. Why I will be going to throw Finn Balor, per se, into the bottom left turnbuckle, and then he ends up on the top right turnbuckle, perfectly fine, and then executes a move on me. It's absolute error. Glitch error. And it's enough to drive a man mad. It's driven me mad. Number 10, collision detection. It's still glitchy, it's still botchy, and the limbs flailing around, making these guys look almost like rubber dolls when they're on the floor, when you're dragging them around. They're like lifeless molds of jelly at points. And you'll be going to execute a move and then find your opponent suddenly behind you. And it's even more of a mess when we get into multi-person matchups, which is number 9. The multi-person match setup is absolute garbage. It sucks beyond anything that I can tell you. Anytime there is more than 2 combatants in the ring, whether it's a tag team match or a triple threat, fatal 4-way, Money in the Bank 6-man, 4-on-4 Survivor Series style tag team matchups, it's an absolute mess, and it takes way too long to get to a finish. Way too long. I was in a regular standard tag team match for almost 30 minutes because the opposing tag team kept interrupting the count or distracting the referee or would have me in a precarious position out of nowhere and force me to have to fight my way back. And I'm not playing on hard, which is making me even more mad because usually I set this thing up on hard. I just fired this one up and I'm having difficulties on normal. And that could mainly be based probably off of number 8, which is the control scheme. The setup on the controller has become very, everybody knows it, everybody's adapt to it, but I find problems in the fact that we are using one button, essentially, for every single maneuver. It makes it hard to decipher what you're doing. And even though you're using your directional pads to execute particular maneuvers, you need to take your position into the ring into account. More often than not, I find myself executing the same move over and over and over again, just based off of the fact that I'm trying to either walk towards him or get away from the opponent, or I'm just in the same position that I was, and then you hit the right stick because you're just trying to go that way, and you end up executing the same move over and over and over again. I don't understand why we cannot, there's so many buttons that you're essentially not using. You're using, on the PlayStation, you're using the X and the square. Okay, your square is your strikes, and your X is your grapples. And you have to hold it down to execute stronger grapples. I think that's garbage, man. And the time it takes for you to execute the grapple, your opponent's punching you in the face 4 or 5 times, and it's just absolute nonsense. It's just difficult. It's difficult to get through. And when you're pre-planning your character and you're setting up all these maneuvers and you keep executing the same 2 or 3 over and over, that's a problem. And that could be attributed to the fact that there's only one button being used for the majority of everything. Whether you're doing suicide dives and planches or trying to execute off the top rope, everything is primarily the square button or the X button, whether it's a strike or a hold. And that should change. Once upon a time, all 4 buttons on your D-pad meant something. Now they don't really mean anything. And everything's being set to be as easy as possible, but it's making it extremely difficult for those of us that like to be a little more intricate and are actually trying to use this game as a means of telling our own stories and putting our own wrestling shows out there. But it's very hard to do with the glitchy mess that is 2K18. At number 7, we're going to embellish a little more on something we touched on before, which is the storyline, especially as it pertains to my career. It's better. It's better than it's ever been, but it is far from perfect. And the biggest example I have of this is a man called Dean Ambrose. Now, Dean Ambrose was feuding with me, according to the producer, whatever the hell his name was. I forget it right now, and it's not worth remembering. But I'm in this feud with Dean Ambrose, right? And every time I go to see what I'm doing on the night, to check the match card, I'm not involved in anything with Dean Ambrose. And then one night, I come up to the show and he's like, hey, listen, Dean Ambrose is out there right now talking trash about you. You need to go out there and stop this, and you are to execute a run-in on Dean Ambrose. Okay, I'm going to do this. But then I go into do this, and I get into a tag team match with me and Baron Corbin, who was my tag team partner, versus Rich Swann and I even forget somebody else. I think it was like T.J. Perkins or somebody. Nowhere in sight was Dean Ambrose. And I end up winning the run-in. I do what I got to do, and I go back and I talk to this jerk, and he tells me, oh, Dean Ambrose will think twice now about... How is that happening? It's a programming thing that goes back to what I was saying. How is it not easily programmable so that Dean Ambrose is somewhere in that conundrum? He's nowhere to be found. I still have not fought Dean Ambrose once. And I had this feud with him, and I think it's essentially over. Because I beat up Rich Swann and T.J. Perkins. Where is the storytelling? Now, it's vaguely there. They're like almost there. They've almost got it. Because at least you're on some sort of a linear path. But then your matchups and at the end don't make sense. And they don't equate to really what you're doing. Like I said, I was placed in a tag team with Baron Corbin. And at first he didn't want me to be his partner. Vince McMahon forced me to be his partner. I had to prove my worth to this guy. And then he finally gives in. He's like, all right, I'll be your partner. We have one match and now it's over. We had one match in a Hell in a Cell out of nowhere versus the Ascension. And then I was gone. It was it. There was nothing. Back to my singles run. And I was actually looking forward to it. I set up my entrance with him. I had a nice tag team thing going on. And I was looking forward to maybe getting a belt. Because I've been playing since launch and I have still not been awarded some sort of championship predicament. The progression is still not there. I don't understand why it's taking so long for me to be anything. Right now, I won the Money in the Bank ladder match after it took 22 times. No kidding, 22 separate times I've tried, each time lasting nearly about an hour. That is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I got the Money in the Bank. I go to the show. I don't have my Money in the Bank. I don't have an option to cash it in. You know, I only have a 63 overall rating right now, but I should have the option to cash it in and let the cards fall where they may. Maybe I'm one of these people that don't do it, and there should be a story arc that goes down that path. Why can I do this, but they can't? Because these people don't know wrestling, just like the people doing the WWE right now don't know wrestling. And the storyline is just driving me crazy. Road to Glory, number 6. The Road to Glory multiplayer. Now, I am not a multiplayer, to be completely honest with you, but I do enjoy rewards, and I like the competition system that they have set up. It's reminding me of what they're doing with a lot of their touch games. You know, the Supercard tournaments and the, what's the other one? The Champions game, and the new one that just came out, the Tap Mania. They have these tournaments that coincide with the pay-per-views of every month. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll get into this. Maybe I'll see what I can do. If anything, I'll earn some rewards. Maybe something unique. Maybe something special. I don't know. And I can't tell you because I still cannot get onto the server. I cannot find a multiplayer matchup to get involved in. I can barely even get into the lobby at times. So I haven't really tried it. So that's sitting right in the middle at number 6 as one of the big problems. How can you offer this and then have some people still on the outside that can't try it? I know some people have done it. I see it online. I see like Dank has done it, and a few other streaming guys have done it, but I have not yet been able to play in a Road to Glory matchup, and I find that unacceptable. Maybe that's on me. Maybe that's my system. Maybe it's my network. I don't know, but at the same point, it shouldn't be that hard to try a game mode out. You know what I mean? It's just a big failure. Number 5 is the soundtrack to this game. It is abysmal. And The Rock absolutely, if he really had anything to do with this soundtrack, he has terrible taste in music. He had one good song, really, for me. The Serb song that was on there is the only song that I knew, but there was maybe like one other song that I was like, all right, this is kind of cool. And I don't even remember which one it was, because I took off every song that The Rock selected. Thank God the jukebox allows you that option, because this soundtrack was terrible. All I hear are the selected entrance themes that I picked, because it's garbage. And at that point, why bother asking The Rock to pick what, 10 songs? Like he couldn't come up with a nice list, compile 25 songs so you're not hearing the same songs over and over and over again. Absolute trash. I was very disappointed in the soundtrack. I was already disappointed, if you remember, if you watched me talking about, when they announced 2K coming out, I said having The Rock do this soundtrack is probably going to make it the worst soundtrack of all time, and I absolutely proved myself right. This soundtrack sucks. I hate it. It's terrible. Number 4, the gameplay. Now, this is not, the gameplay as in the control scheme, which was over. This is just playing the game in itself is a chore, especially if you're in some sort of a gimmick style match like a ladder match or a cage match. The way they have things set up, it is very hard to do anything cool when you're doing any type of match like this. And aside from that, you have to equip yourself with moves, which, you should be used to doing by now, and your abilities list and your skills list, but that's also hard to do. We'll get more into that as we get higher up into the list. But the gameplay, when you're hit, you're just spending way too much time on the floor. I will take one move from somebody and spend an inanimate time of maybe 30 to 45 seconds, maybe even a full minute, of my guy just writhing on the ground. And the one thing that I have leveled up is my stamina. Every time I've been able to use an attribute point and level up my guy, I do my stamina so that I can have a quick recovery time and I can not spend so much time down on the floor. But that seems to be a statistical impossibility, as that is my highest ranked stat, and I am still spending way too much time on the floor after a simple fist to the face, or a drop kick, or who the hell was it? I think it was John Cena. I was almost going to say The Rock. Throws me to the outside, and then I sit on the floor outside just for way too long. Way too long. And that's not talking about that stupid multiplayer match thing they do where you get taken out, like you get hit by a DDT, and then your character rolls out and then sits outside for 5 minutes. Gives you the option for an early recovery, and then you have to take, hits to your stamina and a decrease in your abilities. It's nonsensical. That thing drives me crazy. That drove me nuts trying to win the Money in the Bank. How many times I sat there and had to watch these guys almost win this match, and I'm just sitting there to the point where I get so rageful that I quit. I rage quit on that Money in the Bank about 5 times because I just could not get anything done. I spent all my time on the floor, and if a simple punch to the face does it, imagine how much time you spend on the floor if they hit you with the ladder or you get smacked in the face with a chair. And every time you try to execute something, it's reversed or it's countered in some way. They take the weapon away from you. You can't get off any offense. I spent the whole match, when I finally won, just trying to stay away from the action, waiting for these guys to tire themselves out, which took over 45 minutes, to the point where I could sneak in and try to go up and hopefully win that damn Money in the Bank, and I did. The gameplay is just, it's clunky, it's tedious, and it's almost non-realistic. It's not realistic to what wrestling is. There's supposed to be a give and take, not an impossible mountain to climb. It should not be taking me 30 minutes to beat a competitor like Jack Gallagher. I don't care what the overall is. There should be a better way to go about this. The gameplay is just driving me nuts. And it's near impossible to reverse anything. I've hit that reverse button probably more than any other button I've hit, and my success rate is probably at about 15%. That's how little I can get off a reversal. And, not to tout my own horn, but in future iterations of this game, I coined myself the reverse master. I was very good at timing my reversals. I was very good at it. I would spend the majority of the first half of the match doing nothing but reversing. And now we have this meter that limits your reversals, so that once you reverse successfully 5 times, which is very rare, now you can't reverse at all until your meter fills back up, and you're essentially just screwed. Especially when fighting the likes of a Rusev or a Roman Reigns or John Cena. You're just dead. Also, just fun fact, I had John Cena and Roman Reigns in that Money in the Bank ladder match. It was nearly impossible. I still can't believe that I actually did it. And I have not played the game since. Because I just needed to distance myself after that chaos. And God knows what they're going to put me on. All I know is when I went back and I went in the back, I don't have the money in the bank. I started the next week and I was unable to cash my money in the bank in. It's like a non-issue. It's like they don't even know I have it. Terrible. Ranting on that a little bit. Because that's how hot it gets me that I just can't play a decent wrestling game. Number 3 is the loading times. Very, very long-running problem with this game. I don't understand why it takes so long for them to come up with an engine to compile all the pieces that you need to execute a match within a decent amount of time. Spending way too much time staring at that loading screen. Way too much time. As beautiful as it is in high definition, you know, the smoke is nice and the logo looks nice and shiny, but that damn logo bar takes forever to fill up, and I'm spending too much time waiting to play. That more often than not, when I'm playing late at night, I'm falling asleep waiting for my match to start, and then I have to start it off in the morning. Is that any way to play a game? You tell me. Number 2, as we're getting to the tippity top of this list, everything in this game that you want, and everything that will make your character cool, and every move that you want, every outfit that you want, cost VC. Now, I understand that. You know, they wanted to have this little earnings system so that you don't just have access to everything. But having to use VC for moves is not fair, and it's ridiculous. I don't understand the logic behind that. Why can't I pick a double arm DDT? Because it costs 150 VC. You only have a couple of thousand at a time. And it's hard to allocate your funds to what you really want to do. If you're a visual person, you're going to spend it on outfits and makeups and shoes and things like that. Which I could accept, but putting it in the basics, such as your moveset, that upsets me, man. I cannot do any of the moves that I am used to assigning to my character. My character has a history. You know, you guys that play, you guys that create your own characters, you know, every year you create something that's just a little better than the last, but it is in the same vein. And there are certain moves that you love, certain moves that you need. There is your signature sitting there on the list, but you're not allowed to have it because you didn't unlock the ability to do the top rope dive. And to do that, you need to spend 10,000 VC, but you don't have 10,000 VC. You barely have half of that on a good day. You can't load up Road to Glory to earn more that way. Which leads us to number 1. The number 1 thing wrong with this game, if they wanted to set it up this way, is the reward system. Giving me 300 VC at a time for a 5-star match, that's unacceptable. And while we're on that subject, the fact that if you want to use an attribute point, you've earned an attribute point, which is few and far between so far already. It's very hard to get those attribute points. But then in order to use them and allocate that point to whatever stat you're trying to raise, you need to spend VC to do that. If I already have the point, why do I have to pay to use it? I got the Kickstarter pack, you know, I did the deluxe edition, I got the whole shebang, you know what I mean? I got the season pass, we got it all. And they gave me, I think it was about 40,000 VC. That's nothing. That is nothing. Before I understood how little they were going to be rewarding me, I spent probably overly spent is what I'm trying to say, too much in certain areas where I would have focused all my attention less on my appearance and more on my in-ring ability and my in-ring moveset. It would have aggravated me to no end to have to do it. It's still going to do just that. I'm going to hate it because I don't understand. You got these reward boxes, right? These loot boxes, but each one of them costs VC. You might happen to randomly get one after you pull off something for a random superstar that's standing in the back that always have some sort of generic nonsense to say. And then you'll talk to Bray Wyatt and he wants you to attack TJ Perkins. And you're like, no, go fuck yourself, Bray Wyatt. I'm on my own path. And then your path goes askew anyway. But when you do accept one of these random side missions, you get one of these boxes, and then you get a VC card, and you get all happy, like, oh man, I just got a VC reward, this is awesome, and then you get 370 virtual credits. And then one move, say, random body move number 1, and then, Kurt Angle's shoes. So now you assume that you have Kurt Angle's shoes and random move number 1. But when you go look at them on the list, they're not grayed out anymore. But they cost VC to apply. Unacceptable. Way too much. And I called it a microtransaction when I was talking about it on Twitter, and then some jerk-off jumped on me. There's no microtransactions. Yeah, I understand. Not in real world cash. They're not asking you for money yet to buy VC packs yet. Guarantee you it's coming. Why they made it this hard and why they did not increase the amount of rewards. Why, if I'm putting on 5-star matches, I should be getting, maybe this is a little greedy, but maybe 1,000 VC per star. How about that? So every match I can get 5,000 VC. Before you know it, after a few matches, you got another 40,000 VC. You could start spending 10 at a clip. But I can't access these things and start spending 10,000 at a clip. I can't even gain 10,000. I won the Money in the Bank ladder match. Money in the Bank ladder match. And I got 400 VC. 400 VC, that's it. That is an absolute travesty. And it doesn't make sense to me. And that are the 10 things that I hate the most. The top 10 things wrong with this stupid game. Which I'm going to continue to torture myself and play in hopes of some sort of progression, because there's got to be some sort of a linear end to this. There's got to be some point on this path that they've got me on where I'm going to get a title of some sort, or maybe even just be in contention. Maybe they'll allow me to use my Money in the Bank I just freaking won. Who knows? And I will keep you guys updated on that. Don't forget, if you guys enjoyed today's show, to smash that like button. Share this video with your friends, and if you are not a member of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show Sledgehammer Club, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button and then ring the ring bell that sits right next to it and start off your adventure here with us so that you will be notified each and every time a video drops the very second that it does. And while you're down there clicking all types of buttons and expressing your feelings down in the comment section, don't forget to stop by the description box and check out Clutch Chairs, our sponsor. As always, any little visit, it only takes a couple of seconds, will be appreciated, and it will support this channel, which is greatly appreciated by this guy. Who am I? I am Nick Nightmare. This is my best friend, the World Heavyweight Champion of Microphones, Blue the Snowball. We hate this game. We're hoping for another patch right now. We're on 1.03, and things are still just awful. So I'm hoping that a new patch will come and maybe up the rewards, maybe fix the glitchiness in the collisions, maybe fix the storyline in the career mode. Who knows? I haven't even tried universe mode because I've heard how bad it is right now, and we will be doing that as we go further along. If you guys are interested in that, just let me know. My name is Nick Nightmare. Like I said, this is Blue, the Snowball Microphone. This has been the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show right here on Sledgehammer TV. Our review of 2K18 and the top 10 things wrong. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to check out everything else that went up this weekend, man. We had Weekend Updates Part 1 and 2 are live on the channel, where we talk about everything that happened this weekend, most especially Part 2, having to do with the huge announcement from New Japan for Wrestle Kingdom number 12 that is going to have Kenny Omega taking on Y2J Chris Jericho, which is going to be friggin' awesome and is already overshadowing WrestleMania 34. We talk all about that right there. Also, the Raw and SmackDown reviews this week. Our breaking news on Emma leaving the company. Our unboxing from Halloween is sitting there. Go back, check it out if you missed it. Thank you guys so much. That is going to do it. And we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here Yeah, on the newest, fastest rising podcast in all of the YouTube wrestling community, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you tomorrow night for Raw and Tuesday for SmackDown Live. Until then, have a good one.